Alrighty, everyone. Hello. All right. Yep, I've got volume, got everything. We are here. Episode of the Designer's Den. I am super excited today to be talking with these two lovely people. I've got Amanda Kahl and Banana Chan here, and we are going to talk about their upcoming release, Deimos Academy, which is a horror game. So, and it's not D&D, so a little bit different than some of the usual stuff on this show. So super excited to hear a lot more about that. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves a little bit, tell us a little bit about who they are, how they got into all of this, and what they do. So who wants to start?
Go for it, Banana.
Do you want me to start? Okay, cool. Yeah. Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm Banana. I am the owner and co-founder of a publishing company called Game and a Curry. I also design and write and do a lot of things, a lot of different things in board games and tabletop role-playing games and LARPs, role-playing games in general. Some of my latest work has been on Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, Zhang Shibla on the Banquet Hall with Sen Feng Lim, Pathfinder's latest Dark Archive. I think I can talk about that now. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
They've announced it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not in trouble.
Or at least I think so. I don't know. I know a lot of people.
We'll just say yes. Yes, it's totally in the books. Totally a thing that we can talk about.
It's fine. It's fine.
If it's not, we're sorry. We apologize. But yeah. So you've done lots of stuff, loads of stuff. Loved Van Richten's. I don't know exactly what you did in there, but literally all of it was great. So
thank you.
I read it, one of the few books recently that I have read cover to cover as I was doing design work for the Mist Hunters campaign. So there was just so much good stuff in there, and I was going to go back and do some more content and create for the DMs Guild, but time. But Amanda, how about you?
Hi, I'm Amanda Kahl. I'm an illustrator in the tabletop gaming industry. So I've done illustrations for lots of different indie RPG products. I have also done a tiny bit of game writing, and I'm on several different development teams for just kind of like helping make games be the thing they're going to end up being, like play testing and feedback and that sort of thing. Yeah. I'm also a comic artist, which is not really related, but that's the other thing I do.
I mean, that's deeply related to what we're talking about today.
There's a lot of crossover, yeah.
Yeah. And downplaying all of that, but all of that is very important to the production of any game that goes out, especially the playtesting part. So, contributions are valued. So don't put yourself down like that. But so the two of you, plus I had it here and then instantly forgot.
Austin Taylor, yeah.
Austin Taylor.
Yes.
I should have written that down in front of me. Austin Taylor are the core design team for Deimos Academy. So for viewers who aren't familiar, we want to give a short summary of what Deimos Academy is.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a horror game. It is a horror TTRPG in a coloring book that uses paper dolls. And so players are taking on the roles of adults who are returning back to their creepy old boarding school, and they are uncovering their fears that they've had as children and trying to overcome them.
All right, and that is inspired by Stephen King, yeah?
It's got some Stephen King-esque stuff going on, for sure. And yeah, I would say like it's definitely inspired by like It and various other horror things like that.
We've got some of those gothic northeastern U.S. vibes going on there, because anyone who's ever read a Stephen King describes the New England area very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
So takes place, like you said, you go back to that creepy boarding school that everyone is in. And the premise, as I understand it from what I've read, is that they've forgotten a lot of stuff. You've lost a lot of memories. And as you're kind of going through, you're trying to recover those and figure out like what exactly is going on around here, because obviously you can tell things aren't exactly as they should be, which, you know, it's a good horror setup there. You show up, things are weird, and all of a sudden you don't really remember. What did I do here? Why is this all familiar? What's wrong? I feel like I should know what's wrong here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely, you know, love that. And you know, kind of as you're going through, you know, the coloring book thing was one of the things that I love most about this number. Because like as you're going through, that is, you know, something that it's like an interactive piece, right? And I imagine, Amanda, you had a lot to do with designing those coloring pages.
Oh yeah.
So you know, what was the I guess like inspiration behind deciding to do a coloring book as like a mechanical piece of the game?
Amanda, do you want to take this one?
Well, okay. So what?
She wanted to draw something, but yeah.
Well, so this actually started with Banana's original concept for this game, like many iterations ago.
I'm sorry. We've gone through a lot of prototypes.
These things always have a way of like developing and changing in ways that you do not expect when you set out, especially when you're trying to do something kind of different, because part of like, what can I do that's kind of different? And then you run into like, okay, but what actually even is like possible or works? Mm-hmm. So the very, very early concept was that that Banana was basing this on was the nutshell studies. I'm sorry, I forget the name of the artist who did those. Banana, I know you know off the top of your head.
Yeah, Frances Lee Glessner. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Frances Lee Glessner's nutshells studies of like crime scenes, where she did these really elaborate reproduced dioramas of crime scenes. And that was like the original seed of inspiration for this. And we started with like kind of throwing around concepts of like, well, can we do something with paper dolls? Can we do something with like almost like a dollhouse, like a paper crafting dollhouse type thing? And that's like, how much paper crafting are we going to make people do, really? It's like, let's maybe scale this back to something that most people can get a handle on. And that's how we ultimately ended up on like, we still wanted interactive paper crafting to be a core part of it, but ultimately landed on having the very simple paper dolls that are very easy to pop up into a standee, and having the coloring book element be the like rooms, the actual maps that you go into and interact with. And you interact with them by coloring in and drawing in and writing in different elements as you discover them in the game.
I love that. And I've just dropped a link, because I obviously had to look it up really quick, about the nutshell studies. So yeah, so everyone can have a look at that. Dollhouses, gosh, I don't think the murder dollhouses are something of Frances that I've seen, but I'm pretty sure there is an exhibit of her dollhouses in either the Knoxville Art Museum or some other one that I've been to. I love really dollhouses and just like miniatures in general. So that was actually, I didn't know this whole concept was based on the dollhouse thing. It was one thing I kind of thought about, was like the idea of having little, you know, dioramas was where I was picturing it. But yeah, no, I love that. That is such a unexpected source of inspiration.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the nutshell studies, I think they were so intricate for a while that the FBI was using them in their like actual training tools or something. This was years ago, and she was also like an heiress who had like a lot of free time and a lot of money. So this was like a thing that she did.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of anyone who's seen a very intricately designed dollhouse knows that is definitely a lot of time and money. Especially like some of them use like real gemstones and like mahogany and
very intense,
yes,
intense levels of attention to detail.
Yeah, there's a castle dollhouse at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago that has like something like 40 carats worth of gemstones in it.
Wow, that's amazing.
But yeah, okay, so we're going through and we've got a coloring book page for every room that we're interacting with. So we're filling it in and we're coloring it in. So we're coloring in like as we're examining stuff, as we're remembering stuff, both. So how does that work?
Yeah, so the coloring kind of works where you are basically when you're entering a room, each character chooses an item in the room, and then they would each roll. So on your turn, you would roll a die, and if you were successful in remembering something by picking up this item, then you would color it in. Once you've colored the thing in, once everyone's like taken their turn, then those items that have been highlighted / colored in, they would be prompts as to what the fear is that comes into play in the room itself. So each player would get a chance to basically play out their fear that's manifesting in the room itself. It starts off pretty subtle, and then until they get into the final room, that's when things sort of like go a little haywire.
Oh, I imagine. So, one of the coloring pages that is in the article that I believe on LinkedIn to go live, but I'll put a link in the chat too. The Dice Breaker article is a music room. So you've got your flute, your guitar, a bunch of sheet music, obviously all your chairs and everything, and then a creepy doll lying on the floor.
Creepy doll.
That was all Amanda's idea.
I'm not gonna lie. Honestly, one of the more fear-inducing recollections that came back to me is actually all the stuff stacked over in the corner of the going back to high school, like band practice and all of that. Did you put away all of the chairs and everything? If everyone didn't put it all away, we're going to be standing at attention in the burning, blistering southern sun for an extra 30 minutes tomorrow. The fear of, did I put my stuff away? As you go out the door, I gotta go check. I'm gonna miss the bus. I gotta go check. Shoot. So yeah, I think that's just one of the rooms, obviously, in this boarding school that we're going, and obviously that to me brings back the recollection. So, as you're going through, I imagine you got the whole boarding school, so various classrooms, the dormitories, the grounds, even.
There's nothing outside, but we've got like all the major inside stuff. So we've got 2 different dorms, and then also like a teacher's residence, like little apartment building. And then stuff like lots of different classrooms, dining hall, and chapel, which is fun too, because that's also a nice creepy location.
Yeah, that's like when you can convene with the spirits or your past sins, or however you want to take that. So having that many definitely environments and everything. How long is obviously it's going to vary because role play, but how long does a game of Deimos Academy expect it to last?
It's about an hour to 2 hours. It's pretty short. It's like a one-shot type of thing. But you could play it multiple times. You can keep returning back to the school if you wanted to. I would say that the actual doll creation takes a little, like it's on the longer end of things, just because like people, they love like customizing their dolls. So I've played games where like people are just like coloring their dolls for like an hour before we actually get into gameplay.
You don't have to have personality, of course, and I mean, we're not all trained artists, so some of us it takes a little longer. I know I would probably spend 20 minutes trying to get the hair to look like hair.
Nice. Yeah.
That's my downfall. I need it to look good. The rest of me just looks whatever. This is an outfit on me. I put it there. It's good. But yeah. All right. So you start off making the dolls then.
Yes. Yeah. We have 9 different characters that you can choose from. And those 9 different characters, they're all Amanda's artwork, and they're all just like line drawings. So you can color them in, customize them as you see fit. And you're just going to be playing with these characters.
Oh, I love that. So one of the other neat, interesting things about Deimos Academy is there is no GM. There is no one leading it. It's a very collaborative thing. And what was the decision to make it a GM-less game versus having someone kind of lead the way through the school, a narrator?
So, well, the way that the game works is that there isn't really like a set narrative already laid out for you. You're discovering your basically you're given a series of like prompts of like go into this room and roll and then do that like and then depending on your role you interact with the things in the room in different ways.
Mhm.
And then you're just kind of coming up with what your memories are and how you interact with the other characters, like how the players have their characters interact. So there's not really a scenario. The scenario is basically you're stuck in this old boarding school and you're wandering around. That's the scenario. Everything that actually comes out in gameplay is basically the collaborative storytelling part of coming up with these memories and then how they're affecting, like how they affected your characters in the past, how they're affecting them now as they're remembering these things and bringing these things back up. So a GM wasn't really necessary because there wasn't really an outside narrative driving what's going on in the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty much entirely just you get to invent these stories and use the very open-ended kind of prompts that we have there, because it's like, okay, yeah, you have a memory associated with this item and we don't tell you what that memory has to be. It can be anything and you can tie it into the item however loosely you want.
Yeah,
That's just your jumping off point, basically.
Yeah. And we also ask players to create their own memories. So basically what happens is before the game starts, each player writes a good memory, a bad memory, and a scary memory in a deck of cards. And so this deck of cards, as you're rolling, as you're succeeding on rolls or whatever, you can take a card and you can decide to basically either rip it up and forget the memory and not tell anyone about it, or actually act out the memory. And so it's sort of like this very weird cathartic thing where you see someone like physically ripping up a card and it's just like, oh wow, something.
That one was really traumatic. We don't want to remember it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it could be someone else's memory that you're picking up and like reading as well. So because all of these cards are shuffled in together, I mean, obviously it's optional if you want to rip it up or not. You can save it and decide to read it later. But I feel like it's been most impactful when I've had like games where people are ripping up cards.
One of my favorite things from playtest is when they get to the point where they're like, okay, and now you rip up the card, and they're like, I what? Like, yeah, rip it up. You can destroy it.
Right in half a couple of times, yeah. So, having it be all collaborative storytelling and horror themed, like we're reliving our worst memories, sometimes our best. The intent there is for it to be, very emotional in the game. Obviously, a lot of session zero or like a mini session zero before you start is going to be very important. Are there safety tools that you would recommend that people use for this game specifically, or any of them really would be, applicable?
Do you want me to take this one? Or?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So in the book itself, it does come with an X card and an O card. So our calibration tools that we've recommended in the book itself are the lines and veils. So lines are basically topics that you don't talk about. Veils are things that are okay to talk about, but not in graphic detail. We have the X card. So if any players want to redo something or pause, like take a break on something, they can just like press the X card and be like, hey, like let's redo this, or like let's not talk about this for now. We also have an O card. So like if a player is really enjoying something and they're just like, oh, this is awesome, like let's keep pushing on this, they can press the O card and be like, expressing that to everyone that they're having a great time and everyone just can, keep playing on that. We also have the open door policy, but I feel like every game should have the open door policy. Like if anyone feels like they should just step out.
Right. No. And of course, that's obviously going to be something vital that you discussed during that pre-game session zero type thing, where like anything at any point in time, is important in a horror game or any game, makes anyone, uncomfortable or whatever. You, the human player, can always, you always have the option to just not, whether that is, saying something and stopping the game, or just being like, all right, I don't want to interrupt everyone's fun in this moment because it's obviously a good thing for everyone else, but I'm going to take my snack break. and somebody just, ring a bell when you're done with that. But yeah, so I really love what you said, that you have those specifically in the book, because it highlights the importance of, making sure that it is a game that everyone is comfortable with, and it's a game that everyone's enjoying together, because, especially with horror type things, like, it's easy to get into that, that difficult territory where, like, your worst memory could, drag up something that's literally someone's worst memory in real life, and, like, that's a difficult thing to process, especially, like, if you're playing it with relative strangers, or even with actual strangers. Like, you don't want to go through all of that.
I did also want to say another one of the safety tool, not really safety tool, but kind of related thing that Banana included in the rules that all of the groups that I've played it with really liked, was the debrief at the end of it.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, we actually have a debrief script as well, where you can talk about, like, what you liked from the game as a character and what you're taking away from that as a player, and separate yourself from that experience. And that's been really helpful, especially because some of these games get pretty intense. Like, you end up, because it's a game about, like, traumatic stuff that happened to you. Like, that's basically what the game is about, is digging up your character's past trauma. And so it can be very emotionally intense. And at the end of it, that debrief set part of it has always been very helpful, and people have really liked that. So.
Yeah, it's a lot like a decompression moment, or very similar to like in the Keep community, aftercare moment where you need that grounding, the bringing you back. All right,
exactly.
we're back in the real world. That was all a game.
Yep.
It feels very real, but so yeah, no, I love that too. And I know it mentioned in the article that I read that you had a couple of sensitivity consultants, like, working on the game to make sure that like, everything was handled in a considerate manner, and that the safety tools discussed in an appropriate manner, and everything mentioned. I know obviously that was probably something that you wanted from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Someone found a squeaky toy.
Oh.
Alan. That was gone. That train's gone.
Yeah. No, you like this one.
Were there? I got it back. So, were there things that your sensitivity consultants, like, added to the game that you may not have thought of prior to that? I mean, that's obviously a lot of what their role does that people don't consider as they bring changes to the game. Was there anything that really, like, stood out from that process?
Yeah, definitely. So just like a quick background on, like, the game itself. So I actually went to a boarding school, and a lot of people that we interviewed for this project in general, we interviewed, like, a bunch of people who also went to boarding school, just to see their experiences, just to make sure that we have something that's, like, not going to be too, not like too traumatic, but, like, just something that's, like, not going to impact anyone's, like, gameplay or impact anyone's time having, everyone's trying to have fun, right? Like, just making sure that everyone's, like, having an okay time. And so we wanted to reflect on their experiences without getting too overboard. And so we interviewed a bunch of people, we got all their feedback, we wrote the game, and then we worked with Quinn B. Rodriguez, who actually went through it, and they had gone to, I believe they had also gone to, like, Catholic school, and so they were able to, like, bring that experience with them and, like, view it in the lens where it was just like, okay, I understand, like, what is happening here. I can, like, sort of talk about this a little bit. And so we worked with them. We also worked with Dare Hickman. So Dare actually is Dare NB on Twitter, who we worked with them on getting all the characters and the artwork, making sure that they are, making sure that we have like all different kinds of people, right? Like making sure that we have like all various types of like, bodies and like, people represented in the actual characters.
Mhm.
And so I think working with them, they had like a lot of ideas that we definitely incorporated into the game. But it also felt like we were all sort of aligned in like what this project was going to be. So there was like a bit of work. And like working with them has been great just because like we got the chance to like make sure that everything that we had envisioned sort of makes sense to like, people who are reading this as like scientific readers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the boarding school experience is obviously, why I didn't go to boarding school. My dad went to a boarding school, and that was apparently an experience for him. I've heard stories about it. So I think that's it says a lot about the care that you've taken with this. That not only wrapped your experiences into it personally, but that you went out there and made sure that like obviously your experience is unique. Getting such a wide, range of stuff. So from the very beginning, you were wrapping all of that in, and then I imagine Amanda was also wrapping all of that in from the art side, making sure that they were universally relatable classrooms.
Right. Right.
And yeah, so going kind of back to the basics and all. So like you said, all of that was from the beginning of the design process. What was like the overall design process like for this? It's been long. I know that.
I have to apologize to Amanda so much just because we've gone through so many iterations.
We have, but realistically, we batted stuff around back and forth like a couple of years ago. It was just kind of like a very early design doc and a few notes, and I did a few sketches, and then like we both were busy with other projects, and so it was like, this is kind of backburnered for a while, and we'll loop back around to it at some point. And then once you brought Austin on is when we really started like buckling down and getting stuff done. It was like, okay, no, now this isn't just Banana and I trading notes
All
and
right.
being like, we'll maybe do this at some point. It's like, oh no, we have another person. We have to get serious now.
Yeah, you get the person with the project timeline has arrived.
We have to stop messing around and like take this seriously now. We have to look good for our friend.
Oh, that is totally how that goes.
And then Banana and Austin really hammered out like a really good solid draft of the game, of like all the writing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's been, and at that point it was like, okay, well now we know what direction this game is going in, and now I can actually start producing some assets, because now I know like what this is actually where we're going with this, and we can start designing what do we want these assets to look like start honing in on what's the visual aesthetic that we're going for with everything, and getting on something that we all liked. And that took a lot of rounds of like sketches and making little like mood boards and stuff and trying to like get us all on the same page of like, what is the mood that we want, what actually works, what's actually conveying this, until we finally got that right.
So many mood boards. Everybody, if you've never designed a game, everybody,
there are mood boards. It's a thing.
Amanda's cover though is like terrifying, and like I love it. Like every little bit of like the collage element.
I'm very, very pleased with how that came out.
It's so good. I love it.
I don't know if I've seen the cover.
It's the image that we've been using for a lot of the promotional stuff. It's like, although a lot of times you don't see the whole thing, a lot of times it's just like a section of it on a lot of our promotional material, like cut out of the middle.
Yeah.
We'll send you a copy, or
somewhere around.
We'll send you an image.
We'll send you an image. File.
All right. The one with the shield, and then the paper doll.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I need to see the whole thing then, because I like that. I can't wait.
I gotta find it. Yeah, I'll find it somewhere.
All right.
And so while I was doing visual development, then we were also doing lots of playtest sessions and lots of going back over the like doing lots of playtest sessions to see what was working and what wasn't working, and then lots of going over the rules and like refining them, and then having the different sensitivity passes and the different editing passes and all of that good stuff.
All of the, the important stuff. You can't skip any of those steps. It is a long process to get a game, especially if, it just starts with something you're just like, maybe one day, just tossing around ideas. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so once you onboarded Austin, you part of the team. You started, get some serious momentum then.
Mhm.
And then from there, I guess things really started getting a book together and then form. And what is Austin's role in this core team?
So Austin worked with us in basically fleshing out the lore. So Austin did a lot of the lore writing. I think like this is like the first few sections of the book itself. And we also did a lot of the interviews together. So we talked to various people who are boarding school alumni, and got that together and fleshed out our ideas and feedback from there. They're also a therapist, so that was sort of like very interesting in terms of like getting their perspective on like how to make a game like this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
How to approach the material in a way that was respectful and authentic, and like, and also like, I wouldn't necessarily say like inherently therapeutic, but not likely to be detrimental as an
Right,
experience. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's like, what's a word that's the opposite of therapeutic? I don't know. I can't think of it.
Traumatic?
Yeah, right. Like, we don't want the game is about trauma, but it should not be traumatic to play.
Exactly.
That's not the experience we want.
Yeah. I think having someone who, is actively involved in like mental health, improvement as like their day-to-day life and everything is so crucial to a project like this, and really kind of helps you move it along and everything, and make sure that, you're ticking all the boxes that you need to. So, I haven't spoken to Austin personally, but I have watched some of the other interviews that you all have given, and been absolutely brilliant. It just makes me so excited to play the game. Although I'm also terrified to play the game because I get night terrors.
Oh no.
It's fine. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. So I don't usually do horror, and everything Stephen King that I've ever read has just been like, I'm gonna remember that one day in like the back of my mind, and just be irrationally paranoid about it for a while. So I expect. Although I've got to tell myself in my mind, I've never been to boarding school. None of it's real. It's fine.
Exactly.
I will say though, I'm actually like a huge baby when it comes to consuming horror media as well. Like I can do very limited scary stories, and I can't really watch horror movies very often, because then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna sleep for the rest of the week. This is great. I'm just gonna lie here and be convinced I'm gonna get murdered. It's awesome.
You're like, I know it's irrational, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I think that as a role-playing game, especially one without a GM, where no one is just like springing scary stuff on you, and
Right.
then you're in the whole like reactive type of mode for it, when you're getting to create it and have that kind of agency over it. I feel like this is a very like, I don't ever have a problem. I've played a ton of these games and helped facilitate some of the games as well with people who aren't as familiar with the system. And I never have a problem with being like actually scared. You get that kind of like thrill of like, ooh, this is spooky, but not like actually, okay, I'm uncomfortable. And I've never had it like freak me out after the fact. Sometimes I'll think back on it and be like, oh, that was really good, or that was really cool, or really intense. But I've never had it linger in the way that like watching a scary movie leaves that lingering dread. I've never had that experience with this. It's just like you get to experience the like intense emotions at the time, but you don't get that like weird disturbed thing afterwards. And I think that's owes to the fact that it's a role-playing game, and without a GM, you're very in control. Like you get to be an active participant in the story and make it the way that you want to be, instead of it just being like scary thing coming at you.
And like you said, with it being GM-less, like the only thing that you're not controlling is obviously, what the other players are presenting, but you're all sharing in those experiences together. Like, I mentioned, as you're going through and you're overcoming your fears, like that's got to be kind of like a in-character kind of group therapy for, yes, this happened to you here, and it was, but like, here's how we're moving past that. So you're doing that whole work of moving past the fictional scary thing before you even end the game with the debrief.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think I agree. I think that will make it again a lot more approachable for people like me who are just like, oh, scary stuff. Oh, it doesn't have any jump scares. 0 jump scares.
Exactly.
0 jump scares, unless you make your own.
Right. If you decide to jump scare yourself, I
Okay, well, okay, don't call me out like that. Definitely have done.
I've done it too.
I watched my partner walking towards me earlier, and then like turned back to my screen to focus, and then him speaking when he got next to me. I was like, oh.
I just saw you. I knew this was going to happen.
You're coming this way.
Oh.
So the real terror is in our minds all along. So we went through. You did all of that. Got your wonderful team together. Put the book together. We're doing all of that, and then you're doing this through Kickstarter. So Kickstarter is a scary process to many. Another terrifying thing. This isn't your first Kickstarter. What has the process been like for you in general on Kickstarter, and what has it been like for this? Obviously, you haven't launched it yet.
No,
correct.
I was like,
correct.
I was like, surely I wouldn't have missed that in my searching. For people who aren't familiar with that, especially like most of the Kickstarter things I've talked about have been 5e stuff. Like it's a vastly different experience where you're kickstarting an indie game. So what can you share about that process?
Yeah, so
the boring bits.
A lot of people don't know this, but this is actually Game and Curry's second Kickstarter. And prior to that, I've been on a lot of projects, mostly on Kickstarter. I don't think I've ever been on an Indiegogo before, but maybe in the coming year I might do Indiegogo. But yeah, like it's nerve-wracking, but I feel like because we've done so many of these already, we've worked with like several people who have done Kickstarters in the past. We've done like several partnerships, right? So like with Junction Blood and the Banquet Hall, that we did with Wet Ink Games, we have the experience of like doing that. So we know what to expect. We know what to do. It's just a matter of like doing it and hoping that no one hates us for it. Yeah.
Well, because this was part of the thing, is that this campaign was originally supposed to launch this past fall, and then because of all of the like logistics issues where things got delayed on fulfilling other projects that we were still working on, and so we're like, well, we need to let that finish
one thing at a time.
Let's finish the projects, because Yangsha had gotten backed up because of the shipping crisis nonsense, and so it was like, no, we're gonna let that get finished and cleared off the table, and then we'll just push this back by a few months, because it's just a lot to try to deal with the logistical nightmares that were going on with trying to fulfill that project and then also launching this one. So we had already done a lot of the pre-campaign stuff, because before you launch a Kickstarter campaign or any crowdfunding campaign, you're doing a lot of legwork to get attention ahead of time, like appearing on lovely shows with people and talking to them.
And doing that again.
And we'd already done a bunch of that, and we had like the little like follow us banner, and like we're getting people to follow the project. And so we already had done a lot of that work and had essentially had a pre-campaign already well underway. And then it's like, oh, and now Kickstarter's gonna
Blockchain! Woo!
be
Yeah.
awful and make everybody very uneasy and upset for very good reasons. And now everyone's kind of in this tizzy, especially if you were in the middle of a campaign when this announcement came out, just about to launch a campaign, or in this lengthy pre-campaign process like we were, where it was like, hey, all of this groundwork that we've done to try to get this project that we've been working on for years and to try to, you know, continue to have a viable career as game creators. It helps to occasionally make products and have people pay us for them because that's what you do for a living.
And that
and now
definitely been awkward for everyone.
Yeah, and if you're like in the middle of this process and then this happens and you're like, well, now I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your stream.
Yeah.
But okay, then you're like, well, shit, now what do I do? Like you're just in this position where you're like, people are going to be mad at me no matter what I do, and I'm probably going to take a hit no matter what I do, and like
Yeah.
And I think like as creators, that's been a particularly difficult space to be in, but like for the most part, like the consumers themselves have been pretty lenient about that whole thing right now because, as you said, you know, and I was a contributor on at least one project in every stage of that journey when they announced that. So been through the whole gamut of emotions 4 or 5 or actually I think that's 7 times now. And it's a difficult decision to make, especially when like you circle in all of that logistical hell that has been ongoing. There are still if anybody wants a laugh and simultaneous cry every day, just bring up the Marine Tracker and watch it.
No, or don't.
Oh God.
You have to laugh so that you don't just cry.
I'm gonna recommend that if you're like on any sort of blood pressure medication, maybe don't.
I'm talking consumers only. Creators don't bring up the boats. You don't need to know. It's fine.
We don't want to talk about the boats.
We spent so much money just on shipping. Like I think so pre-COVID, we would have spent maybe like, I don't know, a couple $1,000s on shipping, you know, a pallet of our games over, right?
And then, this is, for those who aren't familiar with the exact parlance, this is shipping from the manufacturer overseas to the US. This is not like US.
This is not the final mile.
Consumers. Right. This is just getting the product to this country.
Right. And so now, because of like all the stuff that's happened, it basically killed 30% of our Kickstarter for Jiangshi. Like we spent 30% just to pay for that. Like we spent less in manufacturing and everything else.
So to put it a little more in perspective for people who aren't, you know, so palette and all that, obviously, like, so used to pre this thing, you could get a container for, I don't know, $6,000. It is roughly 8 times that now, if you're lucky. And that's the cost to get it here. The timeline to get it here used to be pretty consistent, you know, 6 to 8 weeks. Now it's anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 years. Who knows? What else is on the boat? What else is on the boat with your container? And who is willing to pay good money to get that boat into the harbor? It's really just like luck of the draw right now. Is there something on your ship that someone else with a lot of money cares a lot about? Otherwise, it's just going to chill.
Right.
And you know, and especially, you know, for Kickstarters right now, as we're going into in a couple of days, the Chinese Lunar New Year celebrations start. And for people who aren't familiar with shipping from China, you don't during that celebration. It is not a time of work. It is a time of rejoicing and everything. So there's
well, that's like in the US, expecting anyone to get anything done between Christmas and New Year's. You're just not. It's just not. That's not a thing that happens. People just don't do that.
Well,
you just don't.
I've worked for enough American companies now, despite that not being a thing that actually happens. That is a thing that everyone expects. My degree is in the supply chain management. I don't do anything with that right now, but you know, that's what it is. Despite the, you know, realities of that. Yeah, it's just, you know, so things are backed up, things are about to get a little more backed up, and that's just, China and, the rest of Southeast Asia that celebrates that holiday. And we still have everything from all over the rest of the world is equally backed up, and they all have their own holidays they celebrate that stop shipping as well. So, have some patience. It's gonna get to you. We promise. We're making it. It's getting there. But so you've got that reality going on, and that's a thing that we're not. That's a horror that's going on in our real life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Circling back to the horror theme, yes.
But you've already done like all the pre-work and everything at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone who's just joining now, aside from all of the actual getting the thing to you, you got great expectations for this campaign. All the work's been done. It's gonna get to you. So yeah.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Everything is going to be okay.
We believe. Okay, everyone should believe in it. So what's left to do at this point?
So for the game itself, it has been edited, it's been written, it's basically done. It just needs to be laid out. We just need some of the funds to pay our layout artist, our graphic designer, pay the rest of us for all of our time and work, and then get that sent off to the.
You budgeted that in, right?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Forget to budget their own salary.
You need to pay yourself.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
The rest of our friends running Kickstarters, okay? You've heard it here. Pay yourself.
Yes, please pay yourself. Yeah.
Please. Yeah. We do have in the campaign too that depending on how well it goes, we have additional content that we're going to include into it. So we do have other writers lined up for writing while you can generally play the game without a preset storyline, there are we're going to have people come in and write little scenarios or story seeds kind of that you can use as a jumping off point for yours. Yeah. So that's part of what we're hoping, if the campaign goes well and we reach some of our stretch goals, then we will have other people that will be adding to what is ultimately going to happen. But the core of the game, we just need to have it laid out. Other than it is done, other than what
made, actually manufactured.
Made, and other than what we hope to get to add to it.
Are you going to be adding any additional character options or more areas to explore, or those stretch goals and stuff?
Yep. Yes. So we have a few different stretch goals. So one of our stretch goals is definitely paying Amanda to do more awesome characters, more rooms. We also have stretch goals for I think hardcover was going to be a stretch goal. We have different writers. We have potentially adding on more artists. For the campaign itself, for our rewards, we were thinking about doing a backpack level, so people get a backpack. I
love that idea so much, and I really hope that it happens. Getting your school, getting your game book and everything as a little back to school kit in a backpack with a pack of pencils and stuff. I really want this to happen. We're still trying to see if we can make it happen. We're still crunching numbers and getting quotes from people, but I'm come on, backpack, I want it.
Even just one of those simple backpacks where it's just drawstring with a little flap over it.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Initially this game was supposed to be 2 books, and we're just gonna send out 2 books. Now we are restructuring things a little bit. Thanks a lot to Herb, our production lead, for making my life a little bit harder. But
the game better, richer.
The game will be better because it is hopefully, if we crunch our numbers right, if everything goes according to plan, we're going to have a box set. So basically, it's going to come with the 2 books, the coloring pencils. So you're going to have coloring pencils in the box set as well, and I think bookmarks, and I forget what was the last thing that we were going to add in.
I don't know.
I know we talked about this, but I
don't
remember.
know.
Yeah.
So,
Coloring pencils are definitely going to be a thing, though. It's like
Yeah.
one book is the rule book, and then the other book is the coloring book. So you have those two things that you can play off of.
I love that. I love a good box set. There's
Yep.
nothing brings you so much
Mhm.
joy as like, all right, I've got the box. I put everything back in the box. Now I've brought the box back out. Guys,
Yeah.
we do the thing. We've got this is not our RPG library. This is just some of the overflow books. But we have a whole library upstairs with so
And a
many boxes.
Pipe wrench?
Oh, that's
Oh,
that's my gnome artificer's weapon. It's foam. It's one of those foam.
Oh, okay. I was just like,
oh.
there's a giant pipe wrench behind you. I just realized it.
It looks so real.
Yeah, it's a really good prop job.
All right, even though these aren't wireless, I'm gonna grab it because it is.
Okay.
It looks really real.
Right,
I'm
that's
not
what I was like,
surprised.
oh my gosh,
Oh,
that's huge.
wow.
It's so
So-
big.
The cool things that you can, do with RPGs nowadays. Like, so,
That is great. I love it.
Wow,
We're gonna-
that's so cool.
yeah, I saw it at GameholeCon, and I was like,
I need it.
I don't know how much it costs, but it's going home with me. As I told everyone then, I apologize to any DM I play a game with, this gnome and this wrench, because I'm gonna tell them at least once, I'm here to throw a wrench in your plans.
Oh my god. I love it.
Worth it for that joke alone.
So
Okay.
good.
I love it.
Everybody. So yeah, we're gonna have the box set. We might have the backpack, and then we could show up ready to go to school and unpack my trauma.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure there's so much more cool stuff that you can think of to put in as stretch goals and do up the numbers and the figures 6 or 7 times to make sure that they're feasible before the Kickstarter launches. We are practically out of time. So I want to give you a moment to add any closing thoughts you have, anything that we may have missed. If you don't have anything, let everyone know the pertinent details for where they can get on board with the project and then where they can find you both online.
Ooh, should we list off all of our people that are working?
Yeah.
Everyone that's working with us. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
the team. Yeah.
The
Okay,
rest of the
cool.
team.
So Austin Taylor, who's not here, they are the lead writer / designer. Herb Furman, who is the production lead. Vidia Valetti, who's the consulting developer who helped us with some of the stuff in the book. John Merchant is doing all the graphic design. Amber Sayer was actually the graphic designer for the logo itself. Dare Hickman, Quinn B. Rodriguez, we mentioned them earlier. They did all the sensitivity reading. Yes, that is that one of the yes
Yeah, the goblins.
the goblins. Yes.
Goblins.
Oh, I love the little croissant one. Oh my god, so cute.
Like, yes, I won these on Twitter, so thank you, Amber.
Oh my god, I love
Great.
that.
It's great.
Drac is one of our scenario writers. Nordin Ali Kadir is also another scenario writer, and Jeff Fraser was our rules editor. Yes,
Nice.
I think that's everyone. And then we also have stretch goals. So stretch goal writers, we are inviting some other people on, but we just need some contracts signed and some like
And those will be
formalizing.
listed on the Kickstarter. When you back it, you can look at that.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll be there.
Exactly.
All right. And when is the Kickstarter now projected to launch?
We are hoping March 15th,
That's-
unless
that's our
anything
target.
else. If
Unless
anything else happens.
Unless anything else catches on fire or otherwise ceases to function.
Oh, the ocean on fire again, everybody. Let's not.
Yeah,
do
I
that.
don't. Let's not. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Oof.
Let's not do any more of that.
Yeah, that was a thing. Yeah.
We don't need to do that.
Yeah, well, stellar team. I knew about half of those names, and obviously I'm gonna look up the other half of them later. Always looking for talented people to include on projects and everything. I want to thank you both so much for being on the show tonight. This has been absolutely marvelous. I love hearing about your project. I can't wait to see it come out. All right. Well, Amanda, where can everyone find you and your stuff online? And are you available for hire after this, of course? Or now, whatever.
So I'm very busy right now because I'm in the middle of producing a graphic novel this year. So after October, then you can contact me.
If you email now, you might have to email again later.
Yes. I am always looking for work, but I am busy right now until basically for most of this year. So I am always looking for work. If you have a project that's coming out like much later, then email me. You can find me on Twitter at Age of Night. That's AGEOFNIGHT. That's the name of my webcomic, Age of Night, which you can find at ageofnight.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Amanda Kahl Art. So it's easiest to just like DM me on Twitter though, because I'm on there all the freaking time. So
yeah, and I believe you've got all the links to your stuff in your Twitter bio anyway.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Twitter
All of the links are there. Yes. That's right. Age of Night.
Twitter handle is right below her face. So and Banana, what about you? Can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at BananaChan Games. I am very busy, and I am also working on a thing with Yunsu Julian Kim and Eric Slauson, and we are working on a thing that I think we can talk about. I don't know, but we're working with Trick or Street Studios, so that's really exciting. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I think we could talk about it eventually. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anna is always like 6 NDAs deep at any given time.
I know. I'm keeping my board to talk about on there. So, and as always, everyone, you can find me on all of the social media platforms now. I've got like another 17 months to be excited about finally getting my YouTube matched up at Jenny Loveday. I know everything matches all of my brands.
Yay!
It was like an 11-month ordeal, so I'm gonna be excited about it for.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's like I get to be excited about this for like a year and a half. Everybody, okay?
Absolutely.
And yeah, so find me there. Next week I am going to be talking to Christian Zook, who I actually just turned over my work for the Kickstarter that they wrapped. Amazing Encounters Kickstarter. If you didn't back it on Kickstarter, you can still back it. I don't have the link for how to do that, but I'll get it in my notes and stuff. Outside of that, I've got some other exciting guests lined up. Next week, I will not have a live show as I will be in Fort Wayne, Indianapolis. And then at some point after that, I think in February, we're going to talk to my sister on the show who knows nothing about tabletop RPGs. And that's going to be a very exciting episode while we get her opinion on art from tabletop RPGs and what she thinks it is. I'm super stoked for
that
this
sounds
episode.
Like a lot of fun.
I'm really into this.
I'm not sure. I was like, I have a wild idea. I need you to be on my show. She's like, is it about game stuff? So I was like, yes. And you don't know anything about game stuff, but that's the point. I need you because you don't know anything. And she's like,
that's great.
I love that.
She could talk about her cookies, and I'm like, of course we could talk about your cookies. I'm down to promote your bakery at any point in time. You do D&D cookies and other nerdy themed cookies, and they are delicious. So if anybody wants to get a cookie, I'm gonna go ahead and do that little shout out here. BurksBakeryKY.com. Get yourself some cookies. She needs to sell some cookies because she's got her bun in the oven is almost done baking, and babies cost money.
They do.
Baby birth due in April.
Aw,
congratulations! Yeah.
I know. But other exciting stuff that I will be able to talk about and out of NDA soon. So stay tuned for that, and I'll get the rest of the guest list up at some point in time when I remember to do that. Or not, whatever. But that is it for this episode of The Designer's Den. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.